Have you ever felt a growing sense of distance as your thoughts venture into deeper territories? The more you strive to understand the world, the less the world seems to understand you. This experience is a quiet, painful sense of isolation. There exists a subtle resistance to those who think profoundly. We claim to value wisdom, yet we often push away those who possess these qualities, creating a lonely path for the deep thinker. This is an ancient struggle, echoed in the biographies of history's most brilliant minds. They peel back comfortable illusions and expose the raw reality beneath, disrupting the status quo. Consider the lineage of intellectual outcasts ridiculed for their contributions. From Socrates to Galileo, they were marginalized because their intelligence made people uncomfortable. Schopenhauer proposed that intelligence is a burden that isolates those who see the world with painful clarity. To understand society's fear of deep thinkers, we must examine how we process different forms of superiority. We admire strength and wealth as external attributes, but intellectual superiority feels threatening. Psychologists call this the mirror effect. A deep thinker's existence reflects the limitations of our own understanding. This reflection stirs feelings of inadequacy and resentment. Our thoughts are intertwined with our identity. A deeper thinker questions our axioms, feeling like an assault on our sense of self. This triggers resistance, protecting the ego from feeling intellectually outmatched. It's easier to dismiss the person than face the uncomfortable reflection they present. Imagine noticing patterns and hidden truths others overlook. Instead of interest, you sense discomfort. This reaction is rooted in the psychology of how humans perceive intelligence. Intelligence is tied to identity. Deep understanding can make others feel exposed, creating a sense of threat. Deep thinkers turn conversations into a mirror, reflecting things we'd rather not see. Challenging our stories forces a choice: grow or defend. Intelligence feels like a spotlight we'd rather turn off, leading to misunderstanding. The mirror effect is a real psychological experience. When we encounter someone who thinks deeply, it can feel as though they are holding up a mirror to our own minds, showing us what we know and what we don't. Even if the deep thinker never means to judge, their insights can make us question ourselves, which can be unsettling. Our brains are wired for comfort. Anything that disrupts this balance can feel like a threat, even wisdom. It's easier to avoid that discomfort than to face it. When we avoid the mirror, we miss the chance to learn, to grow, and to see the world in new ways. Why do groups often push back against deep thinkers? It's rooted in our need for social harmony. Historically, survival depended on tribal acceptance. Standing out risked rejection. New ideas disrupt comfortable patterns. The group's first reaction is often self-preservation, not curiosity. Deep thinkers often find themselves on the outside. Silencing them closes the door on growth. For the deep thinker, social resistance can be profoundly isolating. They might participate in small talk, keeping their true thoughts hidden. Inside, they feel the sting of separation, a sense that they must choose between honesty and acceptance. The loneliness that comes from seeing what others ignore is real. Others may find solace in solitude, using their isolation as fuel for creativity or reflection. In solitude, deep thinkers often discover their greatest insights, the kind that can change the world. If you have ever felt this way, know that you are not alone. If you have ever felt misunderstood for thinking deeply, you are in good company. Throughout history, some of the most brilliant minds were ridiculed or ignored. Take Socrates, who questioned commonly held beliefs using his Socratic method. Accused of corrupting the youth, he chose to drink poison rather than abandon his principles. Socrates was the first in a long line of intellectual martyrs, proving that the price of truth can be everything. Centuries after Socrates, truth colliding with established power is often treated as a crime. Galileo's heresy was his dedication to observable fact. He proved the earth revolved around the sun, shattering religious dogma. The church, holding immense power, based its authority on a geocentric model. Galileo's findings threatened this worldview. The church branded him a heretic. He was forced to recant his discoveries. He lived under house arrest, his work banned. Galileo's story illustrates how institutions resist those who challenge their control over knowledge. Truth is rejected if it threatens the existing power structure. Galileo highlights the clash between the innovator and the establishment. His legacy is a testament to the courage to speak an inconvenient truth. Visionaries' ideas are often too radical for their time. Friedrich Nietzsche was largely dismissed during his lifetime. He argued society was built on lies and true strength came from creating one's own values. Nikola Tesla was a visionary whose ideas threatened the established order. He dreamed of a world powered by free energy and wireless electricity. His most ambitious projects were defunded, and his genius was largely forgotten. Tesla died alone and broke. Sometimes society punishes thinkers for who they are rather than what they believe. Alan Turing's code-breaking shortened the war, and his work became the foundation of modern AI. Yet, Turing was cruelly persecuted for his personal life and died by suicide at 41. Hypatia of Alexandria was a brilliant philosopher, mathematician, and astronomer. Her commitment to rational thought put her at odds with extremism, and she was murdered. Intellectual progress is often met with violent resistance. They were rejected because their brilliance illuminated a truth society was not ready to see. To understand resistance to deep thinkers, we must look into the ancient wiring of the human brain. For most of human history, survival depended on being an accepted member of a group. Our ancestors thrived in tribes where social harmony meant safety. This created a profoundly social brain, prioritizing belonging. Rejection from the tribe was a death sentence. The deep thinker challenges this tribal brain by introducing disruptive ideas, threatening the group's cohesion. Intelligence makes them stand out in a world that values fitting in. Our brains still operate on the principle that social conformity equals survival. Neuroscience shows that when people encounter ideas that challenge their core beliefs, their amygdala, the brain's threat center, activates as if facing a physical danger. This primal response isn't rational, it's automatic and emotional, flooding the body with stress hormones and triggering fight or flight. So when a deep thinker questions assumptions, it's not just a debate, it can feel like a threat to survival. This reaction evolved to protect group stability. Challenging ideas were seen as threats to social order, not just personal comfort. That's why deep thinkers often face isolation. Their questions trigger ancient defenses, making genuine connection difficult. The resistance they encounter is less about disagreement and more about a deep, instinctual fear of disruption. Our minds are wired with biases that favor conformity over complexity. The Dunning-Kruger effect makes the uninformed overconfident, while the status quo bias pushes us to defend familiar beliefs, even if flawed. Deep thinkers who challenge these norms face resistance not just from ignorance but from psychological defenses. The backfire effect means that presenting facts often strengthens rather than weakens false beliefs. These biases make nuanced ideas hard to accept, giving simplistic slogans more power than detailed analysis. That's why society often clings to comforting lies and resists the difficult truths deep thinkers offer. In groups, the fear of deep thinkers intensifies. Now it's about social status, not just personal discomfort. Groupthink takes over. Dissent is suppressed, and the deep thinker becomes a threat to unity. To protect the group's ego, members may ridicule or exclude the intellectual challenger. That's why deep thinkers often find real conversations only happen in private, away from group pressures. In public, their insights are devalued to maintain social harmony. For a species wired for belonging, the deep thinker's challenge to consensus ensures their outsider status. Schopenhauer argued that intelligence is a curse, not a gift. It drives people to seek truth, not comfort. Most people follow the will to live, chasing pleasure and social acceptance without question. Deep thinkers, however, are compelled by a will to truth-seeking reality, even when it brings pain and isolation. This fundamental difference alienates them from a society built on comfort and distraction. Their motivation isn't to feel good, but to understand a path that almost guarantees loneliness. The deep thinker sees through social conventions, perceiving the hidden motives and empty rituals others accept. Ordinary conversations feel shallow. Genuine connection is rare because most people avoid depth and discomfort. Schopenhauer believed that desire itself is suffering, and deep thinkers see the futility in society's endless pursuits. Their detachment is often mistaken for arrogance, but it's really existential clarity. By refusing to join in collective illusions, they become outsiders, reminders of truths others would rather ignore. In a world built on shared illusions, the clear-sighted are often seen as threats. Schopenhauer claimed that greater intellect leads to greater loneliness. The more you see, the harder it is to find happiness. Happiness, he argued, belongs to those who can ignore life's deeper realities. Deep thinkers can't turn off their minds. History's greatest minds, Nietzsche, Pascal, Kafka, were plagued by isolation and existential pain. Their clarity made them sensitive to the world's flaws, unable to enjoy the simple pleasures others take for granted. The loneliness of intelligence isn't personal failure, but the cost of seeing what others cannot. It's like speaking a language no one else understands, forever a stranger in your own world. Schopenhauer offered strategies to help intellectuals cope with isolation and find contentment. Embrace solitude as a sanctuary, free from shallow interactions. Use alone time for intellectual and creative pursuits. Find fulfillment within yourself and your work. Seek out rare, like-minded individuals for genuine companionship. Prefer profound connections over superficial friendships. Engage wisely. Avoid casting pearls before swine. Observe society. Choose words carefully, and communicate ideas receptively. Deep thinkers face a challenging landscape. On social media, ideas are valued by their ability to capture attention in seconds. Platforms like Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok reward the quick and the catchy. Algorithms amplify the sensational at the expense of nuance. Thoughtful observations are drowned out by memes and outrage. Social media is built for virality, not depth. Content that challenges beliefs rarely becomes popular. Deep thinkers are often overlooked, their voices lost. The marketplace of ideas becomes more about entertainment. This discourages deep thinkers from participating. Social media shapes our attention span and willingness to engage with complexity. The divide between deep thinkers and mainstream culture grows wider. They must translate depth into accessible forms. From an early age, institutional barriers shape how we think. Education systems often reward obedience and memorization over independent thought. Questioning the textbook or challenging authority is often seen as disruptive. Grades are given for right answers, not for asking deeper questions. The cost is high for children who are naturally inclined to think deeply. Over time, they may learn to hide their curiosity and suppress their instinct to challenge the material. The result is an education system that produces conformity, not insight. The cost to society is immense. Entering the workforce brings new pressures to conform, often more powerful than in school. Workplaces operate on fit and predictability. Employees align with values, support decisions, and avoid rocking the boat. Those who raise difficult questions risk being seen as negative. Harmony is valued over innovation. Meetings reward consensus, not dissent. The pressure for quick results overshadows genuine innovation. Deep thinkers may feel suffocated keeping insights to themselves. The best ideas are never shared and the status quo persists. Organizations become stagnant and vulnerable. True innovators are often recognized only in hindsight. Institutions often reinforce predictability, comfort, and group consensus. Media chases ratings, gravitating toward stories that confirm rather than question. This culture can see novelty as a threat, but the need for deep thinkers is more urgent than ever. The world faces problems that cannot be solved by surface-level thinking. Progress depends on those who challenge assumptions. Yet, there is hope. Institutions are not unchangeable. Deep thinkers can shape the world, even if it's slow to recognize their worth. The path is not easy, but it is necessary. We have journeyed through why society fears its deepest thinkers. The stories of Socrates, Galileo, Tesla, and Turing are enduring testaments to a painful, recurring pattern. While society may fear deep thinkers, it is these very individuals who become the architects of the future. They are the torchbearers of progress, carrying the light of new ideas through the darkness. Society does not progress through consensus. It is dragged forward by the visionaries it once tried to silence. Society needs its deep thinkers, not in spite of the discomfort they cause, but because of it. They are our engine of innovation. If you have ever felt the sting of isolation for your thoughts, know this: you are not alone. Learn to navigate the world wisely, preserving your intellectual depth. The challenge is to learn how to carry your insights with grace. Save your deepest conversations for people who have earned your trust. You only need the understanding of a few kindred spirits. Seek them out relentlessly, in books, in online communities, and in quiet corners of the world. Embrace your solitude as a sanctuary. It is the fertile ground where your ideas can take root. Find your validation in the quiet satisfaction of your own intellectual pursuits. In an age of shallowness, the deep thinker is more critical than ever. Complex problems cannot be solved with surface-level thinking. The future depends on listening to voices we ignore. The deep thinker's journey is challenging, but purposeful. Society may fear deep thinkers, but they shape its destiny. Continue to think, question, and share your vision, keeping alive hope for a better world.